Welcome to the Dad's Corner, where fathers unite and stand strong against the challenges that life throws our way.
Here, we celebrate the victories, learn from the defeats, and support each other through every step of this incredible journey.
Father, please grant me the strength to withstand the shots and shooting like Teflon. Running through these obstacles, all the opposition gets stepped on. Dedicated to the mission, steadfast in my commitment, and I'm standing on business. You with me? Father time, the enemy crossed the line. Trying to get in my head, but I'm of sound mind. This is by design, putting it all on the line. I will lift my hands, I get down, I get down, I get down for mine. Hit like Father time, yeah, I get down for mine. Go hard like Father time, yeah, I get down for mine. Hit like Father time, yeah, I get down for mine. Go hard like Father time, yeah, I get down for mine. Hit like Father time, yeah, I get down for mine. Go hard like Father time, yeah, I get down for mine. Hit like Father time, yeah, I get down for mine. Go hard like Father time, yeah.
But man, let's go. I'm excited.
I'm excited too.
We're live. We are live, episode 5. We're trying a little bit of a new setup here.
Shout out.
Cheers.
I like it. So shout out to Podcast Videos
Yes,
Studio.
absolutely.
Like, this place is awesome.
Up here in Rogers or
They
Bentonville.
have accommodated us. They have allowed us in, made us like family. They provide us with fresh water,
straight natural springs. It does say proudly Texan on it. Eat that. Well, you had New York out on last week, so we're not going to go there.
I know it.
But yeah, no, they set it up. We're trying a little bit different, just see which one we like. A little close, maybe.
I mean, we might touch knees.
If we get to laughing really hard, I think there's a good chance we may both.
But I don't want to move the chair because
well, also these chairs surprisingly heavy.
yeah, they really are.
I saw you try to kick the element out of the way, and it did not move a muscle. Did not move an inch.
It did.
But yeah, so we're live. I got the first 4 up on YouTube. Spotify ones are slowly coming in.
Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts, you're going to start seeing them there.
We're on Audible.
That's awesome.
I mean, I thought you just read books on that. I didn't even know they had podcasts on
That's
that.
awesome, man.
But
So,
in mine, he left a comment. We already got a comment on.
I saw a comment.
4-star. He said, "I can't give you 5 right off the bat. I need there to be room for growth." And I was like, "Oh, you're that guy that's like, I don't give 5 stars because nobody's perfect." You know what I mean? Like,
Oh man,
that's cool though. But it just seems like I don't know.
Well, this is the Dad's Corner. This is a podcast for the dads, the fathers, the leaders, the mentors, the coaches, the people that are making a difference in their families' lives, their community's life, and leading the charge. And we're excited to be here. My name is Tony with the keys, and this right here is
Jayson Kreisel. You can find me on social medias as Kreisel Daddy, Krissell Daddy.
he's branded, y'all.
Branded. Working on getting that skinny. On my way, but
See the shoulders? Like, I think I'm
glad he put us in a sweater.
yeah.
It just really defines the muscles.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've had good success. We actually got our first sponsor, which is exciting. We'll talk about that in a few episodes. We've had a couple of people inquire about it, and so I'm excited. I actually had a second one today that I just left a meeting from. I haven't even got to tell you about it yet.
That's awesome.
So we're gonna. If anybody wants to sponsor, definitely get a hold of us. Get us any kind of merch you want us to wear, hats, shirts, anything you want us to drink out of. We'll set it up. We're gonna announce it at the beginning of the podcast, at the end of the podcast, and then any of the descriptions, any of the comment sections, we'll have you listed there. So.
Trying to figure out how to sit in this chair, like
I'm thinking about what if I get to listen and I get to
is there a recliner podcast? Is there like a podcast?
Should be. I mean, do I cross my legs like this? Because you don't want to do like this, and then what if I like this?
Yeah. So the sponsorship, like, we are definitely looking for the sponsorships. If you want to be a part of that, if you have something for men, something that fathers would appreciate, something that fits with the vibe of the show, I definitely want to extend that opportunity to you to allow us to kind of pitch for you. Man.
I think the camera's not on. I think.
Oh, I should be.
If I'm not mistaken, because it's the only reason I said that.
Now,
is it the red one or the green?
Red?
Does red mean stop? Don't look at this one?
Recording.
Oh, so I'm looking at.
But I think that one is on. This one is not on me, though. It's like over here. So it's
either way. We're all over. We're looking everywhere right now because that one's blinking kind of. So that would be like, I'm looking at you. I'm blinking.
Ready.
Gotcha. Okay.
But hey, Jayson, how has your day been? How was your how was
week? It's been good. Yeah, week's been good. We had some family up this past weekend, and they recently got engaged. Awesome. So the two that were up here, so yeah, and they asked me to actually officiate the wedding.
This isn't your first officiation.
No, it's not. It's not. I'm thinking about setting up a little side gig. So I've done two. I've actually never done one in Arkansas. So I've done one in Texas. I've done one in Florida, and I had retired. But when somebody asks you to officiate their wedding,
that's kind of a big deal, man.
It is. It's a lot of pressure.
But here's the thing. That speaks volumes to you. You don't just do that. You don't just give that to anybody.
Yeah, and they actually asked me to do it before they got engaged.
That's fire.
They knew they were in love.
That's fire.
So, shout out to Nikki and Dallas. Shout out to y'all. Congratulations. Yeah, so I'll be officiating another wedding next year. So, it's exciting. Every one of them has been a little bit different, too. First two were like kind of on, in locations in Florida and Texas. And so, it's been kind of neat to be a part of. And so, I thought there was just like a little transcript I would read, but it's like you kind of find your own spin to put on. So, it's kind of neat.
That's really cool, man.
So
that's really cool.
I'm excited about it. But yeah, then we had some friends up this last weekend. We were actually going to go on the boat and got out there, noticed that like nothing was really working, and battery was, when I say dead, I mean dead. D-E-D. Dead. And so Casey was like, well, hey, why don't you charge it real quick? I'm like, that's not how it works. Like you don't charge it real quick because we're at the house. It's not like I could just jump it.
Yeah.
And because I'm like, we got a 30-minute drive to the lake. By the time we put it in the lake, what if it doesn't start again? And I was like, worst case scenario, it does start. And we get out to a cove. Then it doesn't. It's kind of like a party barge type boat. And so I'm like, we don't have oars. So I was like, you know how we get it back? I'm going to have to strap it to me. And I'm going to have to swim.
I mean, strap it.
I could do it.
Hey, did you watch those channel races during the Olympics?
No. Oh, you talking about the?
Oh my gosh, bro! They're swimming like 6 laps, 10 miles, like it's crazy.
Yeah, that's not me.
I'm just saying that would be you.
But what would happen was I would go down fast.
Titanic, man.
Yeah, I would get us right to the main channel, probably out of that cove, and then it'd just be down from there. So, but yeah, that's what we did. Did you have anything fun going on? Anything crazy?
Yeah, bro. So we did a lot of back to school shopping.
It's that time. That time of the year.
Last week, we sent the kids to school yesterday, and I'm good with it.
Yeah.
Like, shout out to all the dads. It's your time to live. The moms, it's your time to live. It's your time to shine. You don't have to take the kids. Like, bro, I was taking the kids to everything, to all kinds of stuff throughout the day. I don't know how.
Well, y'all had what was the back to school thing, or the midnight thing that y'all did?
Oh, so they had, I
didn't even know they still did that.
So they do, and I didn't realize they did. It was first night of pads. So first practice with pads was at like 9 to 12. High school came out at 12, Midnight Madness. They come out and they just practice. But it's their first practice with pads, so you get to hear the pop, baby.
Hey, we're 11 days away.
Yeah.
11 days, I think, from college football start.
So it's that time.
Man, it's exciting.
It's that time. So, I'm super excited. And so
when this comes out, it'll be single digits. We'll be like 9 days away when this one comes out. 8-9 days away. So
it'll be
it's
lit.
Close.
We will have a better understanding of who we got and what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But no, I've also been spending a lot of time in like audio apps and social audio apps. So Clubhouse, Chatter, these places and been having some really good discussions. I think that at some point we'll start bringing some of these discussions into those places, and kind of building some community in those places.
Yeah, and we're working on a live. We're working on trying to do a live episode to where as people are commenting, because we've had people comment and tell us different thoughts, but it would be kind of cool to bring a different feel of like doing it as we're sitting here. So trying to bring that aspect. I know you've been working on that, and so pretty excited about that. So yeah, a lot of good.
That's cool. Well, let's get into the meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
Bro. You called me the other night.
It's going to be controversial today.
Well, here's the thing: is that
it's going to be controversial. It's going to be topical. I guess I'll say it's going to be.
Called me the other night, and you were like, almost had to fight.
Yeah,
about the fight, and I was like, don't really tell me anything right now because I want to hear about it on the show. So here we are. We're on the show.
We're here.
This guy right here, Chrysler Daddy, about to fight. Talk to me about it. Tell me about it. What happened?
So it was, last week. So I pick up the kids from school. They're finishing their daycare spot that they're going to. They just started pre-K Monday, so they had like a couple days left. I go pick them up. Casey had to work late. If I ever pick them up and Casey's got to work, I'm like, hey, let's go grab something to eat. Let's go. We'll just swing through. We'll get something. We'll get something to eat. So they're like, yeah, let's go get a burger. And we're not looking for fast food. We're looking for a real legit burger. So we stop at a spot, and I won't say the name, and we go inside. Kids love to eat there. Every patty's freshly made. It's that spot.
McDonald's.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I'm just playing.
Exactly. It's got a Mick in front of everything. It's a great place. No. So this is like a local place, and we walk in, kind of it's got a bigger area, but it's just one room. And there's like a middle wall dividing the restaurant. So I walk in, there's two kind of older gentlemen sitting here, and then on the other side of that wall, two younger kids. And when I say kids, I'm getting to the age I've realized when I told this story to my wife that I'm getting to the age that I say kids, and they were like probably, they're almost college age.
Yeah.
I'm going to say 17, 18, somewhere in there.
Right.
I see them sitting there, and I also immediately noticed, the older gentlemen, they had drinks. I could tell they're waiting on food, right? You get your drinks, wait on the food to come out. They didn't have anything. So I was like, they're just kicking it. They're just here to hang out. Whatever. So we go in, we order, kids get their drinks, they go over, fix them. I'm letting them, every time they go out with dad, they do everything. You want a drink? Go get a drink. We make a mess, we go and clean it up, but do it. So we get done. Keep in mind, that's the only people in this whole place. So we could have sat at the very back. Bathrooms are kind of towards the back, so I was like, you know what? We're going to sit up here with everybody else. That way they're not trying to clean up this whole restaurant. Just trying to be helpful.
Considerate. Yeah.
But I also keep in mind that I have a 4 and 3 year old. So they are, if anybody's making noise, if anybody's doing anything, they're just immediately and I had to say don't stare. And then they hit me with how long can we look? When is it not staring? And I'm like, that's too big of a question. Just stop looking. So anyways, we sit down, and the two kids, they start, at the very beginning, they weren't saying anything. They were just, talking to each other, and, I can hear really well, but as long as, my kids don't hear, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to be that old crabby dude. And so I'm sitting there, and we get our food, and we start to eat. And again, 4 and 3 year old, they don't eat quick. I mean, it's going to take us 20, 30 minutes to eat. Well, the two kids start using profanity, super loud. And again, the kids don't hear it, but they're laughing. And every time they laugh, the kids turn. So I'm eventually they're going to start listening. And I don't want to have to explain what a lot of these words that they're saying are.
Yeah.
And so I let it go, and then I snapped. And I was I stood up and I said, guys, I've got 2 kids here, 2 young kids. Watch your mouth. Stop talking like that. And because it wasn't they were just oh, kiss my... It wasn't anything like that. I mean, it was super in-depth vulgar stuff that I won't repeat. It was very in-depth. Well, about that time, one of the workers comes out, and I, for a minute, was all right. Cool. They're going to say something.
Situation.
They're friends with the worker. That's why they're there. So I say something to him again. The one younger kid, the smaller of the two, turned around and he was like, yes, sir. And I was immediately I was respectful. So I'm going to be respectful back. The other kid, he like kind of sits there, doesn't say anything. He's like eyeballing me, and I'm like looking back, and he's like, yes, sir. And so then turn back, kids start eating again, and I hear him going, well, he wasn't talking to me, he was talking to you. Like back and forth, like, oh, he better not have been talking to me. So then now I'm like going from dad mode to man mode. And like, if you're man enough, I know you're with your buddies. I know I'm outnumbered, but if you're ready for that, okay. Like, that's fine, let me know. But I was hit with the, what should I do in this situation moment? Because I remember my dad having situations like that. And normally if he said something, you can neutralize it. There never had to be arguments. There never had to be fights. It was never anything overboard like that. It was normally the older person said something, the younger ones just shut their mouth, or they just kind of, went on.
Yeah.
And I was like, but also, like, we're not about to run out of this restaurant. Like, we're not about to... You're not going to ruin our time. Like, we paid. Y'all aren't even paid. We paid for this meal, so we're going to sit here and enjoy it. But I can hear the chatter. And I can... Now, they're not saying anything directly to me, and they're not saying anything directly about me, but they're also just running their mouths. And so I sat there and I thought to myself, what if this escalates?
What if it goes there? What if they do?
What if it does?
What if they do get up like, well, what's up? Or what if they don't say yes, sir? And they're like...
At that moment, I was like, that. What happened was I checked both of them. They said yes, sir, but then they both felt weaker in front of each other. I remember being that age.
That's right.
I know exactly what they were feeling. They were both like, well, man, we got to step, And so I was like, okay, what if it gets to that point? Like, what if they stand up? I'm sitting here with my son and daughter by myself. Had my wife been there, I might have said, take the kids.
Let's go outside.
Y'all go outside, or y'all go to the truck.
Yeah,
I'll be out in a minute, or I can at least separate the kids from it, right? Because I don't want my wife to say that either.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting there thinking, and it wasn't ever a thought of like, oh, what if I could jump? I wasn't worried about that. It wasn't the physical, but I was thinking like a plethora of things. One was, what if the kids see their dad get in a fight? Like, I never saw my dad get in a fight. Also, never saw my dad like in a situation where after he spoke, there was anything. So I was like, well, the kids, what if they see me fight? Like, that's one. I was like, that's embarrassing. Like, win or not, like, that's embarrassing. Second of all, like, if I tell them to leave, like, I don't think they really understand what's going on. But what if they're like, they realize it and they're like, Dad, why did we run? Like, why did we leave? Like, why didn't we get to stay and enjoy our meal 4-3? They're not thinking that. But in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, if this happens any other age, I'm trying to tell them to walk away, but I don't know if walking away is always the right thing, in my opinion. And it's because I want them to stand up for themselves. And so that's what I wanted them to see in that moment was I stood up for them. And so we got home, like we ended up finishing, they grabbed some of their food, we took it, we left. And like, as I'm walking out, like I can hear the chatter picking up, like, oh, they're leaving, whatever. I get outside and I'm like kind of watching my bag, just thinking like, man, and then one of them's like standing up, walking back, like looking outside. And I'm just, and the more they do, the more I'm getting like,
kind of
let's go. Yeah. Like fine. But we leave there, we get home and we're getting the kids ready for bath. And Cope looks at mom at Casey and says, these boys were being rude and Dad said something to them at the restaurant. Like, that's the limit of what he gathered from it. Like, Dad yelled at these two kids.
Yeah.
But he said these two guys, so it sounded like I said, there's a bunch of guys there. But my main thing that I was wanting to take from it or get people's opinions on and people's thoughts on is, at what point in that situation, first off, a lot of things, do you think it's okay for it to ever get to a physical confrontation? Because you got to stand up for yourself. I'm not saying instigate it, but I'm also saying not back down from it. So that's one thing. Second of all, like when you get in that situation, first thing I was worried about was the kids. Like, I'm just going to have to put my pride aside and let these two run their mouth because I can't allow it to get to that point. Even if they stand up and they want to fight. Now, if they attack us, all bets are off. Now we're just going. But I thought, okay, say we get into it. They call the cops. Cops show up. Now I get taken out in handcuffs. The two kids get taken out in handcuffs. The kids. Casey has to come get the kids. If she can't get there, now the kids are riding in a police car. Like, all that's going through my mind. Like, I can't let it get to that point for that reason. But the Jayson from 10 years ago wouldn't have done that.
It's on.
And so it was the first time as a dad where I sat there and was like, I pretty much have to, even if they start chattering, I kind of have to watch what I'm saying back, because I can't let it escalate to a physical confrontation, because I can't let them see that, be a part of it, or deal with the repercussions of it. And I'm not talking about win, lose the fight. I'm talking about it just happening in general.
So let me kind of touch on that. That is a crazy situation, and as much as I hate that you were in it, I'm glad that we're able to talk about it and figure out some ways, because I know that you're not the only dad who may encounter a confrontation, some type of thing that happens, a situational, a situation where there's going to be aggression or anything like that. And say that situation does escalate and somebody does want to fight. I think at this point, and I'm 38, like at this point, I would lean back on some of my training, like as a dad, like as a father. I've got, older kids, and so definitely more impressionable. I mean, like I think about Dex, if he's in that situation and I do fight, then I just sent him to school. Like, I just think about him, having a situation that has confrontation in it, and then him just saying, "Oh, well, Dad fought. Like, I'm gonna fight." So I think that it's important that we're setting the example. Kids are so, like, they're sponges and they're watching everything. And as much as they're squirreled to everything else that's going around you, they're really watching the way that you are handling yourself inside of that situation. So it's important to keep that in mind. Also, like, you're like not win or lose, like, and yeah, that's right. But we don't know what people are on and what type of stuff people are, have in their mind, where they come from. So, like,
how knowledgeable they are with fighting. I mean, you know what I mean?
Or what you say if they have something on them, like so safety becomes an idea. And like, whereas whenever we were younger, like, we were 10 foot tall and bulletproof, like, and so, but
didn't care what they had on.
I didn't care, but my kids aren't, and they haven't been. And so, like, the safety of these kids takes precedent over whatever the situation, whatever y'all are talking about. Like, and I think that's important to think about. Like, life is 10% what happens, 90% what you do about what happens. And so, like, we have to be able to be mindful that, okay, this is just the 10%. Like, the big stuff is what I do about it and how I interact with it. But I think you did a good thing, like, because it's important to stand up for your kid, to stand up for the situation. Stand up for your
good check of both ways. I want to stand up, but also, like,
well, and you remember that show? They used to have that show where it's like they would have like a hidden camera, and they would have like a situation that went on.
What would you do?
What would you do?
Yeah.
And so it's like, being a good human, you stand up for good principles, and you like, even though you don't really want to, like, you have to step in to protect your children from that situation. Like you were saying,
well, keep in mind, this wasn't like a once every 4 or 5 minutes they were saying something. This was like a constant. They were basically giving each other a hard time. They were riffing on each other, but in riffing on each other, I mean, it was literally back to back to back to back, like nonstop for like 5 to 6 minutes.
Yeah.
So I let it go and cut my eyes a couple of times before it got to the point where I was like, I'm gonna say something. And it was like and there was two old, when I say older gentlemen, I'd say they're probably 60s, 70s beside them. And they're like close as me and you. Like, think of there's a wall right here. That's how close they are. So I know they hear it.
And they probably didn't want to hear that.
And they don't want to hear that. And they don't, but they're probably just like these punk kids. Like, they're not going to say anything either. They're probably like, we'll get our food, we'll leave, And it's like, I don't know. I felt it was almost like they're not bullies because they're younger. Like, I don't mean, but it's like that bully mentality of like, this is my restaurant, I'm going to do whatever I want. And it's like, but I would have felt bad too if we would have been like, well, we're just not going to sit by any people because I got kids, we're going to the very back. But it was like, no, we're going to sit up here with everybody. I want my kids to like know what it's like to just be around people. So that way, whenever I can say, don't stare, or whenever they drop something, like, I want people to see that like they're cleaning it up, and like that we're teaching respect from kids and like treat things better.
Yeah.
And then it's like you have super disrespectful things happening, and it was like, well, I can't just sit here and be quiet about it, because once the kids started like listening, they don't know the words, but it's like one of those, do I want to hear them
Repeat
say that word in a church setting or in a school setting, and
tell them don't do it, and then they're like, why? What does that mean?
And then the teachers are like, yeah, hey, your son said this today, and my wife's like, well, where in the heck did he hear that? And I'm like, well, listen, we was at the burger spot, and so it was like one of those. But I also wanted them to realize that, like, I know who you are. I've been that age. I've been with buddies, and even though I was always taught, you be respectful, especially on public.
Yeah.
And so, but I wanted to let them know, like, that's not okay. And like, you don't just because of your age and, just because I've got kids or because they're older, you don't get to say whatever you want in a public place without somebody saying, hey, that's disrespectful.
Well, I think that it's important that part of it is important too, is like, we can greet a situation that is confrontational, that has like some underlying like aggression to it, but we don't have to be aggressive. We can be assertive, and we don't have to be aggressive to it. Like, and so I think that you took an assertive approach. You didn't go over there like, hey, y'all calm that down.
Listen, boy,
because then that escalates it. And you're absolutely right. Like, if it does go there, now you're the grown man who's beating up on some kids, and now you get that rap, that jacket. The police come. Like, I mean, bro, that's a chess mindset. Like,
I like to just say, when we say kids, they wasn't like
the teenagers.
They wasn't 10 and 11. We're talking about 17, 18-year-old. And it was to that point where I was like, if you want to act like a man, we're in that situation.
And so I know dads go through these type of things. Fathers go through these type of things. Leaders go through these type of things. It's a great, like, there wasn't really given a mentor moment that you had, I guess, like to where you could
had Casey
talk
been there with
us. Then maybe you're able to talk into them, speak life into them, because obviously there's something that led to that. And kids will be kids. Like, kids they talk crap all the time.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, sometimes some teenagers.
And I think they were smart enough to know that, like, they had me in a weird spot. And again, it wasn't even close to physical. But in my mind, that's what drew it out was like, what if it did? Like, what if they were like, instead of yes, sir, they were just like, F you. And that now, that's what I was just thinking in my mind. Like, I'm glad it didn't get to that point, but I was thinking to myself, if it does, then what?
So my final thought on that situation, I think that you handled it well. I think that we can teach our kids to walk away from a situation and be assertive still and still stand up for yourself.
Yeah.
But I think even after it, like after you all go back and the situation, I think it's important that we what's the word I'm looking for? That we have the discussion.
Yeah,
with the kids about maybe not in fine detail about what took place, unless like my kids, I'll probably have to have some fine
on the way home. You'd have to. By the time we got in the truck, my kids didn't even know.
They're 7, 12, 17. Like my daughter would like Anaya probably would have been trying to fight. Like, but these other ones, like they're impressionist. I keep saying impressionistic. We make an impression on them.
Yeah.
Like they're sponges, impressionable.
Yeah.
They're sponges right now, and so I think that it would be important to like have that conversation with them, have a discussion. What did you feel like was going on? Tell them what was going on, and kind of use it as a teaching and learning opportunity.
And be like, just because mom and dad aren't around when you get out with your friends,
exactly.
Like for you definitely would have been able to have those conversations. My kids just thought,
from both
Dad yelled at these, Dad yelled at these guys for talking at the restaurant. That's what they got from it. Whereas like your kids, like you said, being older would have been like, just because mom and dad are around, don't be disrespectful to people. Just because you're in a public place and you're at your own table, people can hear you. So just keep the respect factor first.
And here's the thing: is that we don't know what we would do unless we're in that situation.
Yeah.
But it's conversations like this that allow us to have some type of idea about if something like that arises, how would I do for my family? Like, what would I do for my kids if I'm in that situation.
Yeah.
And I encourage you to do the same thing, like to really, and you, the listener, I encourage you to do the same thing, to take that question upon yourself. How would you interact with that situation? What would you do in that situation? If it escalated to the point to where they weren't going to back down, they were going to be aggressive, or even the exact situation that took place, like, how would you interact? What are some things that you took away from the story, and how, and
tell us some, leave in the comment section too if you've been faced with something, anything like that, whether it be with your kids or with your spouse. Like, have you ever been in a situation where you had to decide, like, all right, if things were to escalate, what am I going to do here? Because for me, it was nice because used to it was react and then think about later, well, I should have done this. Well, this was one of the first times that it was the other way around, where I was like, okay, let me think about what could happen, and then how am I gonna, I was proactive instead of reactive, and so I was able to get a different mindset. But like I said, years ago, it would have been approach the table, say something to them, and maybe if something happens that shouldn't happen,
get up,
so,
get up, let's go.
Well, no. On a other super side note, so Coach starts taking golf classes, like for kids, like little kids, right?
Yeah.
So we're like, hey, what do we need to bring them? Like, do they even have clubs his size? They're like, no, we got everything. They're like, just bring a change of clothes and 2 pairs of socks. We're like, why do they need 2 pairs of socks? And they're like, well, in case they get a hole in one.
That's good.
Hey.
That's good, bro. That's good. Man, bro, it's deep. Like, I love to talk more on this subject, and so I think we'll continue this conversation in the comments. We'll have some different spaces for this conversation right here. But definitely leave in the comments wherever you're listening at this to this at on the YouTube, if you're watching it live. And I do encourage you to watch it live. It's really dope. Like, we have a lot of fun together. But wherever you are, pay attention and leave us some comments. Tell us how you would interact with this situation, or how you would engage with it,
or just even subjects you want us to cover, talk about, what you think would be a good topic. Thanks for the love so far. Our first video's already gotten triple-digit views. The downloads were already double digits on Spotify. So very blessed, thankful for everybody who's been a part of it, who's helping us get it out there. And so we've got a whole lot more in store for everyone. So
we had like 15 hours of watch time, though.
Yeah.
So that's really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I mean, that's cool.
It's exciting. So we'll be releasing one a week from now on. So on Thursdays is the release date. So just be prepared for that. Set the reminders. Again, you can support us without paying a dime. You like, subscribe, follow, do all the normal stuff.
Social digital currency.
Yeah. Share, like, follow, do all of it. We greatly appreciate everybody who's done it so far. For everyone who will do it in the future. One last thing.
Man,
Shut the dang door,
man.
Let's go.